This is Joe Herman, and welcome to this review of HP's flagship Z840 Workstation and the high-resolution Z27s 4K display. If you work in high-end post-production, visual effects, animation, video editing, matte painting, audio recording, or any creative field for that matter, you probably have already heard about HP's top-of-the-line workstation, which is found throughout the industry in computer animation studios, color suites, editing rooms, production companies, and by creative professionals all over. We begin with the unboxing of the machine. Note that your packaging may differ from this one. The Z840 comes with the accessories you would expect, such as a full-size keyboard, optical 3-button mouse, and a power cord. The tower itself comes wrapped in a protective plastic cover. It's immediately apparent when removing the Z840 from the box that this is one heck of a solid machine. The workstation is made to withstand the most demanding production environments and is built like a tank, with thick solid metal sides that seem capable of repelling sledgehammer blows. It weighs more or less 50 pounds depending on how you configure it, and has a height of 17.5 inches, width of 8 inches, and a depth of 20 inches. A new Z840 comes with a layer of protective plastic on the side, which you'll probably want to remove. As you can see, it takes a little elbow grease to peel it off. The trick is to get a good grip. Almost there. There's also plastic covering the handle, which needs to be peeled off as well. There, a nice clean new workstation. One of the first things I noticed about the Z840 is that it's darker than its predecessors, the Z820 and the original Z800 before it. I'll include a link to my review of the Z820 in the description below. The HP Z840 Workstation has a chassis that is one of the industry's most expandable, with integrated front and rear sturdy handles, which makes it easy to move around your studio. If you like, you can mount the workstation on a rack with a set of extendable rails which you can purchase separately from HP, a handy option for large facilities and machine rooms. On the front of the workstation, there's a slimline optical drive bay, two external 5.25-inch bays into which you can install things like a media card reader, power button, hard drive activity LED, 4 USB 3.0 ports, the top one has charging capability, headphone jack, and microphone jack. On the back of the machine, there's the power connection, a serial port, PS2 keyboard and mouse ports, audio line in, audio line out, 2 USB 2.0 ports, 4 USB 3.0 ports, 2 RJ45 gigabit LAN ports, 4 DisplayPort 1.2 connections, 1 DVI connector, Thunderbolt 2, and a pair of keys. The keys can be used to lock up the system and keep it safe when you're not around. Opening the chassis is easily done by pulling the side off from the handle. There's a handy overview and diagram of the system board laser etched onto the back of the side panel for convenient reference. On the inside, green touch points help indicate what to pull on to access the internal components of the machine. I'll begin by removing this door. It gives access to the PCI slots, SATA and SAS ports. Next, I'll remove this component, which houses the fans designed to cool the CPUs, memory, and other components on the system board, and is designed to guide the airflow efficiently throughout the interior. A thing that I was really impressed with is how silent the Z840 is. I could hardly hear it when it was turned on. The power supply is removable and is available in 850 or 1125 watt options. Being able to pull it out like this makes it convenient to replace should something ever go wrong. At the heart of the Z840 are two Intel Xeon E5 2600 Haswell processors, which are available with up to 18 processing cores each. These two have 14 cores each for a total of 28 physical cores and 56 threads. The Haswell Xeons support ECC memory logic and 40 lanes of PCIe Gen 3 I/O for each processor. Above the processor are these cooling housings, which help to keep the Xeons behind them nice and cool. For memory, the Z840 features 16 DIMM slots, which use new fast DDR4 2133 MHz ECC memory. With DDR4, there's a 14% increase in performance speed over DDR3. The Z840 is able to support a maximum of 2 TB of memory if you add 16 128 MB DIMMs. That's a lot of memory. This system has a total of 64 GB, which is a result of 8 GB DIMMs installed into 8 of its slots. The Z840 utilizes PCIe Gen 3 technology, which delivers a peak bandwidth of 16 GB per second, twice as fast as PCI Gen 2. There's a total of up to 7 high-performance graphics and I/O slots, including support for up to 3 PCIe 3.0 graphics cards in PCIe 3.0 by 16 slots. This Z840 workstation has a Quadro M6000 GPU, NVIDIA's most powerful pro graphics card. The M6000 features NVIDIA's powerful Haswell GPU architecture, 3072 CUDA parallel processing cores, and 12 GB of GDDR5 memory for ultra-fast memory bandwidth of 317 GB per second. In addition, the Quadro M6000 has a new display engine that drives up to 4 4K displays natively with DisplayPort 1.2 support for high resolutions like 4096 by 2160. 4 4K displays. I could definitely go for that. In the PCI slots underneath the Quadro GPU, you'll find an HP Thunderbolt 2 PCIe I/O card, which provides 20 gigabits per second of data in each direction, 4 times the speed of a USB 3.0 connection. The card also provides DisplayPort 1.2 capability and multi-stream transport support. Beneath the Thunderbolt card is a 512 GB HP Z Turbo Drive G2. If you haven't heard about HP Z Turbo Drive, it's an innovative and revolutionary PCIe-based SSD storage solution which uses Samsung's NVMe technology. It allows for ultra-fast storage speeds and is great for things like 4K video editing, among other things. Just how fast is it? We'll get to that in a moment. Turning around for a look on the back of the machine, we can see the Thunderbolt connections and the grill for the Turbo Drive G2 beneath it. Near the front of the machine are 4 internal drive bays which can be easily removed. The first 2 bays each contain 512 GB SSDs which have been configured into a 1 TB RAID. Next is another SSD that is not part of the RAID. At the bottom of the stack is a 2 TB spinning hard drive which can be used for storage, backup, or as a working drive if you like. Here's a view of the 2 external 5¼ drive bays. Time to put the drives back. I used Crystal Disk Mark to check the speed of the drives. I heard that the Turbo Drive G2 was fast, and it was. I've included the results of the sequential reads and writes in this chart, and you can see that with a speed of 2,235 megabytes per second, the Z Turbo Drive G2 is more than 4 times faster than an SSD. However, if you think that's fast, check out the new Z Turbo Drive Quad Pro from HP. This new storage solution effectively puts 4 M.2 Turbo Drive G2s in a RAID configuration into one PCIe Express 3.0 by 16 card. Not only will that give you more storage space in a single Z Turbo drive, up to 2 TB, but thanks to the RAID configuration, the Z Turbo Drive Quad Pro delivers speeds up to 9 GB per second. That's more than 16 times faster than an SSD and 4 times faster than a single Z turbo drive. That's incredible, jaw-dropping speed, and very useful for high-resolution workflows. The nice thing is that it comes at a modest price too. Definitely worth looking into. Let's put the tower back together. Power supply, cooling unit, lower door, and side panel. After examining the internals and externals of the HP Z840, what else can one say but wow? Between the powerful 14-core dual Xeons, fast DDR4 2133 MHz memory, top-shelf NVIDIA Quadro M6000 GPU, Z Turbo Drive G2, and Thunderbolt 2 ports, this is certainly one of the most advanced and capable workstations on the planet. In the Z840, HP has created a machine that represents the latest and greatest in workstation design. Now let's take a look at the HP Z27s IPS UHD 27-inch display. The Z27s is an ultra-high-definition display with resolution of 3820 by 2160 pixels. It's got sRGB color gamut with 1.07 billion colors for vivid and detailed color reproduction. Being an IPS display, it also has a wide viewing angle of 178 degrees, which makes it useful for presentations or work reviews with your team. You can even mirror your smartphone or tablet to the large screen through an MHL connection that also charges them up at the same time. It also comes with a collection of cables such as DisplayPort and Mini DisplayPort, as well as a CD which contains drivers for the display. Now let's take a look at the display panel itself. This quick setup diagram is included to help you get up and running. We'll take a closer look at the connections later. Let's not forget to remove this. The monitor swivels from side to side and can be lifted higher and lower as you like. You can also rotate the display 90 degrees and use it vertically. This can be useful if you're working on a tall matte painting, for example. There are two super speed USB 3.0 ports conveniently located on the side. Here's a shot of the base while swiveling the display. Connections to the HP Z27s 4K display include DisplayPort 1.2, Mini DisplayPort, HDMI 1.4, MHL 2.0, USB 3.0, and audio connections. Here are some 4K images displayed on the monitor, which look gorgeous at 4K resolution. It's almost impossible to distinguish the individual pixels unless you look through a magnifier. It might be hard to see the color fidelity since I shot this on a video camera with auto white balance, so I strongly suggest you take a look at the Z27s with your own eyes to see how good it looks. The images appear to be continuous tone, with the tiniest minuscule details rendered perfectly. The only thing better than this monitor is having two of them connected to your system. Or why not 3 or 4, since the NVIDIA M6000 supports up to 4 4K displays. Here I am using the HP Z840 and the Z27s to edit this video in Premiere Pro. The system is very snappy and responsive, just as you would expect, with smooth scrubbing and playback. In addition, the UHD display provides plenty of pixels to work with. In this case, I'm working in 1080p HD, and I'm able to view the full image at 100% with plenty of room left over for the timeline and control panels. Here I've opened up a large Pro Tools project. Again, the 4K display provides ample room for the project window, mixer, MIDI editor, and plugin controls, while the dual Xeons in the Z840 provide ample power to drive Pro Tools audio engine. When using a 4K monitor, you might find that the menus and icons may seem a little bit small. It doesn't really bother me, but if it bothers you, keep in mind that Windows 10 has new scaling options for 4K displays. This machine is running Windows 7. There's a nice piece of software that comes with every HP workstation called the HP Performance Advisor. With it, you can get all kinds of useful information about your system. When you launch it, it starts by interrogating your system and gathers information of what's inside. By clicking on the Your Computer button, a handy block diagram of all the components of your system is presented. Hovering the cursor over each component gives you information about it. Here we can see that the memory slots each contain an 8GB DIMM for a total of 64GB. If you click on any one of the components, you can get more information about it. Hovering over one of the processors, we can see that it is an Intel Xeon ES2695. Clicking on it reveals additional details including the number of cores, thread count, and the speed. Here's the NVIDIA Quadro M6000 with 12GB of GPU memory. And here are more details about it, such as which slot it is installed in and the version of the driver. Scrolling down reveals more information including the displays that are connected to the GPU. Clicking on the display provides information about that display, which it has correctly identified as the HP Z27s UHD IPS display. Here's info on the HP Z Turbo Drive G2. Here are the other drives attached to the system, and above it the SAS adapter. Clicking on it reveals details about the drives connected to the system. Here's the Thunderbolt card and its details, and the network connection and its details. On the top are other options to view your system's information. Clicking on Configuration Report presents a thorough list of everything about your workstation and what's in it. You can save the configuration report to disk if desired. The HP Performance Advisor also provides other details about your system, including how your software is used, as well as performance information, which includes a memory graph and the workstation monitor. Next, I ran Cinebench on the machine. Cinebench is comprehensive benchmarking software from Maxon that measures the performance of the CPU and GPU. I started with the GPU test, which will measure the performance of the Quadro M6000. During the GPU test, it runs a real-time 3D animation of a car race that includes lighting, reflections, shadows, and texture maps to see how quickly the graphics card is able to render it. The result of the GPU test was 145.61 frames per second. As you can see in the ranking list, that blows the other graphics cards listed beneath it out of the water. To see how the Quadro M6000 compares to your graphics card, download Cinebench and run it on your own computer. And if you want, post your results in the comments below for everyone to see. Next comes the CPU test, which uses the CPU, in this case the dual 14-core Xeons, to do a final quality 3D render, which includes reflections, global illumination, transparency, and other advanced rendering challenges. The results of the CPU test was 3285, an extremely fast and impressive result, and substantially faster than I have ever seen. What is a workstation? A very powerful computer? A movie-making machine? A recording studio in a box? An artist's creative playground? An enabler of dreams? A partner that helps you realize your wildest creative visions? It's all of those things and more. The HP Z840 represents the latest incarnation of the world's leading workstation. Paired together with the Z27s 4K IPS 27-inch display, and you've got an unbeatable workhorse of a system, limited only by your imagination. If you found this video review informative or useful, please press like and subscribe for future videos. This is Joe Herman. Thank you for watching.